Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Zimbabwean Perspectivecast. It has been ages. It has definitely been ages. I think the last time we did one of these was December 2023, I believe. Yeah, so it's been a while, but hope everyone is great. Hope if you're listening to this, you are in a good place. If you're not, well, I hope you are after this. And of course, thank you for tuning in. But anyway, I am Clint Mgaragade, your host, and I am joined by my good friend here, Mr. Blessed Chikush. Blessed, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm
How's the
okay.
summer? If you got yourself a Starlink, yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Am I audible?
Very, very.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Maybe there's a delay between
Nah, don't worry. Something we
when
can
I speak,
fix and
but
post.
yeah. Okay, okay. Awesome. No, I was
Okay.
just saying I'm good. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we've got a lot to talk about. You already mentioned if I've gotten a Starlink.
Hmm.
But that's definitely going to be one of the biggest topics because it's been one of the biggest tech topics in Zim as a whole. And then, of course, there's
Hmm.
its rollout, all the effects it's had, all the craziness it's causing around Harare and other areas. And beyond that, there's tons of stuff. I mean, this is what October now. Technically, September and October are kind of big tech months. They're called Techtember, Techtober. We've already had a lot of the stuff launch early. We've already got the Pixels out. We've already got the new iPhones out. We've got the Windows Copilot Plus PCs. Those things actually started coming out around July, I believe. And we've got the
Yeah.
PS5 Pro and all the headaches that that thing has caused. But we'll get into that because, as far as to anyone who's listening to this, we just want you to focus on two things, okay? Number one, Starlink. Number two, did AI ruin everything? Because you are going to find that everything we talk about comes back to either one of those two things. But let's actually start with
Yeah.
Starlink, pretty much, right? So I don't know, man. Blessed. I
Yeah.
think you're in Bindura. Even in Bindura, we've been seeing some Starlink stories going on. What's that been like for you?
Yeah. Been pretty normal to be honest. I mean, I don't think people are talking about it as much in Bindura as a matter of like them purchasing the kits, but it's just novelty because people are curious what Starlink actually is, how it works, and whatnot. But not too many people have been purchasing it, so yeah, I'll guarantee you that. So maybe if people still want kits, they can just relocate.
I don't think relocating for a whole kit is worthwhile. Like that's a bit crazy.
I
But
mean,
yeah.
it's reliable internet anyway. It's reliable internet. I'm sure some
Uh
people would be able, would they're willing to move, and it's cheaper.
yeah, I mean it is, but okay. Well, okay. I think just to give people some context here.
Yeah,
For those who somehow have been living under a rock but still stumbled upon this podcast, Starlink is the satellite-based internet solution that is powered by Elon Musk's SpaceX company, right? Its whole thing is about giving
yeah,
pretty good, reliable internet access to areas that do not have good internet infrastructure. So if you don't have good like cell phone coverage in your area, if you don't have good like fiber, that's what Starlink is for. So it's been great for things like rural
yeah.
areas and so on,
Like
but it's
it's
also,
like satellite dishes for internet.
yeah, pretty much, except much better.
Everyone has a satellite dish. Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, pretty much. But beyond that, now it's also been great for a lot of African countries, us included, because we're not
Mm,
known for having the best internet infrastructure. Like you may think that if you live in a major city, you've got pretty good internet. Trust me, it could be a lot better. Okay. The cell phone towers could be a lot more.
yeah,
The fiber cables could actually reach everywhere because a lot of people in Harare do not
yeah,
realize that these things don't even, I mean, I live in Kwanzaa. We don't have fiber cables here. Like they're long,
yeah.
if I'm not wrong, but like if I wanted this whole fiber today, I would be having to pay around $1,000 for them to pretty much dig up and stretch cables towards my house. So
And and that's just for cabling
yeah, yeah,
from
that's
I
without
mean
paying the
cabling
internet cost.
to your house. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, Starlink has pretty much been everyone's saving grace or I don't know, holy grail because of that, right? And the big part is,
Not for everyone.
well, okay, for a lot of people in Africa. And the biggest part, of course, has been
Yeah,
price, right?
yeah.
Right now, kits are either $350 for the regular kit or for the slightly slower mini kit, which is $200. And then
Mm,
you're paying what, 30 to $50 a month. This is pretty
yeah.
much lower than anything that has been offered in Zimbabwe as far as unlimited internet is concerned. Pretty much forever, right?
And
Yeah.
if I may add, and the speeds are uh either the same or even better than our local
Yeah,
service providers.
of course. The speeds are actually, at least in practice, because on paper you do have Zimbabwean packages that claim to be offering, I don't know, minimum 25 Mbps internet, but well, speed test will tell you a very different story from that. So
Uh,
in
Different
practice,
story, yeah.
Starlink has been a lot faster than anything that, at least as long as we're talking about home internet plans and most lower end business
Mm,
packages. Because yes, there is some guy who will tell you that his company has like this what $600 a month Zoll package that probably is way faster, but well, we're not
mm,
counting that. So yeah, people have loved it, people have flocked to it. And now, because of two things, access and price, um it's flown off the shelves, right? Starlink launched at the beginning of September.
yeah,
September was pretty much defined by nothing besides Starlink stories. We put up only two, and those two stories have been some of
yeah,
the best performing stories throughout the year. Like they literally have. So everyone wants it. Everyone, or at least everyone within Harare wants it because that's the majority of the people who read those stories. And now
yeah.
it's gone to a point where Harare is pretty much filled to capacity. Like if you live in a certain outskirt suburb, I mean not yeah, a certain outskirt area or maybe certain high density suburbs, maybe. But literally you will find
Mm,
people you'll find Mufakosi being like full, you'll find Kwadzana being full, you'll find all of these areas that you think, oh, these are low income, high density areas. Nope, they're full because everybody's like, screw this, okay, screw
yeah,
internet, I mean, screw Econet, screw Zoll, screw Tel One, whoever
yeah.
around.
So and
I'm
then
gonna bite the bullet once, buy myself
Carter
a $200 kit, and just get a Starlink.
pay. Yeah, people are actually willing to be paying the monthly subscription is actually cheaper, right?
It's way cheap.
Than
Again, 30 to
most
50
of
bucks.
our
30 to $50.
yeah
So, and
per month.
has happened now is because of this rollout. Some players have been, in fact, this is what our most recent article. Well, okay, by the time you read this, it will not be our most recent one, but the most recent Starlink article, which is about how Starlink
Mm,
basically entered Zimbabwe at a very weird time for our telecoms and internet industry because
mm. Yeah,
the expected thing would just be that, Starlink came and it would cause the disruption we expect, which is Zoho has lowered prices, right? The Zoho plan I use was $180 less than 4 months ago.
yeah.
It was 180 US dollars.
But for that,
Uh,
I feel like they, as far as Zoe is concerned, I feel like they haven't done enough price lowering, or at least they've lowered the prices for the people that they think will be able to afford Starlink. But then their lower tier prices are still the same.
well,
They
okay.
haven't been changed.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Well, I was
Yeah.
gonna get into that.
Mm,
I was actually gonna get into that. So we've had some price drops from some people, right? It's all
yeah.
fine. They've slashed in half.
Mm,
Like $180 to $90 for my plan is a pretty big.
yeah.
And yes, I believe that's the
Oh
lowest
yeah, it is.
limited plan you can have right now, but it's a pretty big
Mm,
jump. It's still a lot more, but it's a big jump. Um,
yeah.
the one it has not made any real price changes yet. But to be fair, that's because if you're paying in USD, you can pay $50 for unlimited internet. That's their basic plan.
Mm,
Still, not too bad. What they're doing is rolling out more of their LTE lines. I think they're called Blaze. Econet has been the
yeah.
weird one. Oh wait, no, PowerTel. PowerTel now has a $30 unlimited package. It's just as simple as that.
Yeah. Porto.
$30 unlimited. It's completely available. The only
Yeah.
sad part is it's PowerTel, so it's not quite available everywhere. In the same way
Yeah.
that especially what is this? Especially Econet and the likes of even to some extent Taiwan can be found in more areas.
Mm,
So that's been the limitation, but people are dropping. And then there's of course Econet, which is a bit confusing right now because the expected idea was they were gonna push smart biz, right? Which was these new lines.
mm,
They have an internet plan for $45 a month. That internet plan was, I mean, that line was probably going to be their direct competitor to Starlink. And when they first started,
mm.
well, these lines have actually been around since apparently February, but they did do kind of a revamp where they lowered these prices like
But
within the last month.
was it was it
Yeah.
wasn't it in wasn't it in anticipatory move for because they knew Starlink was gonna be global anyway. So maybe they're trying to get ahead of the curve to act like we're already offering affordable internet, so
Well,
please stick
that's
with us.
business logic would dictate that, but well, Econet has been acting a little illogical when it comes to business as of late. Yeah, that's what I'm trying
Yeah.
to say. The idea was everyone, this is why everyone thought that, oh, of course, this is meant to take on Starlink. Again, this thing has technically been there since February. And whilst maybe
Yeah.
it was not a direct what is this anticipation for Starlink. It was
Mm,
definitely meant to be a sort of future proofing measure, right? And so great, we think that
yeah.
this is probably going to have some kind of direct benefit for us. But again, in the last month, SmartBiz started off strong. People were buying some lines. They were speed testing it on Twitter and stuff. I mean, sharing their
Mm.
speed test on Twitter. And we're seeing like 80 Mbps from these lines. Out
Uh,
of the,
the speed. Yeah.
yeah, out of the lowest tier plan, the one which is, I believe,
I've seen, I've actually seen. Oh,
you've actually seen what?
okay. Which is decent. No, I was gonna say I saw somebody posting 260 megabits on their status from the smart biz, but I don't know what tier that they were paying for it.
I saw people on the lowest tier, like the one which is supposed to be 5 Mbps. And that was awesome, right? Econet clearly
Okay.
knew what they were doing there. They
And
clearly either
yeah.
wanted people to share that or they probably even told a few people to share it. I don't know. We don't know about
Mm.
which way that went. But point is, everyone was like, you know
Yeah.
what? Smart biz is great. And it brought up the thing that I believe that you even kind of hinted at, which is that
Mm.
not everyone should need Starlink. Like, it's great,
Yeah.
but I have said this, the biggest benefit that Starlink can actually bring to Zim right now is making everyone else's services cheaper or more accessible. That's the biggest benefit because not
Yeah.
everyone should have to
Mm.
invest 200 and something to 300 and something dollars to be able to get good, reliable internet. And not everyone needs the internet speed of
Internet.
Starlink, to be honest. If you're just at home and you
Yeah.
need internet for some documents, social media, and some Netflix, the truth is you probably don't need Starlink for that.
Yeah.
If Econet could just bring up
Yeah.
an affordable plan, that should be enough for you. If Zoll could lower their prices and make you have access to their LTE lines, that should be enough for you. But of
Yeah.
course, yes,
It
there
should
are
be.
people who would need like the higher bandwidth, the faster speed, and the
Mm.
remote accessibility of Starlink.
Reliability as well.
Exactly, because they're
And as
people,
well, the reliability.
yeah, yeah, the reliability as well, because they're people who are in completely remote areas, but they do want to work. They do
Mm.
need to work. Those people could use Starlink. There are people who are smaller entrepreneurs but want to start an internet-based business and need much faster speeds and reliability. Those people probably need
Yeah.
Starlink, but it's still
Mm.
not everyone. And so everyone was happy when Econet put out Smart Biz at first, and then Econet did what Econet does best. They stepped on the wrong foot and went and throttled the speeds. Like literally,
But
yeah,
on
no,
that issue, I still on that issue I still want to know if they actually throttled the speeds or demand just went up and like there were too many users on the platform,
there were too many what? Too
making
many
it
people
slower,
now using it.
using it, yeah, more than they anticipated, and they didn't know how to handle having more users than they initially planned for.
I really doubt that because I don't see anyone being like SmartBiz now has, I don't know, 2 million users. So now
Mm.
is not even 2 million, like a few
Yeah,
10,000. We're not there yet. We are
yeah,
not
well,
there yet. It's
yeah,
very likely that Econet
yeah, but still,
pulled an Econet and they allowed people to jump on, get excited, right? Really love using this thing. And then within a few weeks, they were like, okay, we need to now
mm,
put the actual tiered speed tiers that we had promised. Because look, if you're getting
yeah.
88 megabits per second on a 5 Mbps plan, you're technically getting 40 times
You're
more
you're
on
stealing
2.
bandwidth from people. Yeah,
Exactly. So
yeah.
like um we understand as to like why they did it. I just feel like I
Mm,
if they were gonna throttle it, they should have throttled it a lot less. Because now people on the 5 Mbps plan are telling me that you can't even get that 5 Mbps. You're playing at like 1 to 3
mm.
Mbps at best. And these are people who are like testing it in the middle of the night at 12 a.m., bro. Like they're not doing it during peak hours
No,
where you can save
that's
loads
my
because there's tons of users or whatever.
that's where my argument is.
Uh-huh.
Because say I buy the smallest Starlink kit, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's supposed to be doing a minimum of 5 megabits,
It's
right?
10.
But if
10. If it's the
10
mini,
megabits,
10. Yeah.
yeah, so 10 megabits. But if I put 500 people on that 10 megabits per second link, it's gonna get slow. So
Except,
maybe people bought too much into the smart biz
Okay, but
so
here's
much
the
bad.
thing. I think
Yeah.
there's one slight flaw about your analogy there or your example there.
Mm,
You're
yeah.
saying if you bought one Starlink kit, right?
Yeah.
But that one Starlink kit should probably be used by ideally you
Mm,
or like a group of up to like let's say five, six people. You're not buying
yeah.
one Starlink kit for 500 people. Just
For
like in the
500
same
people. Yeah,
way,
of
you're
course.
not buying one smart biz line for 500 people.
Mm,
You're buying one
yeah.
smart
Well,
biz line for one user. So,
no, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So I'm sure they put up infrastructure that was going to be separate from us, the normal internet users. So for that infrastructure and the bandwidth that they set aside for smart biz was probably getting overwhelmed because maybe they didn't want to turn down new customers.
except
And
they
in the
are.
end,
You, what's funny is they are. Like that's the thing we hadn't even gotten
they're
into.
turning down.
You
Okay,
do know what the require. Okay, here are the requirements for smart biz. You
yeah.
either have to buy Econet's $200 5G router, or
Hmm.
you have to, what is this? You have to prove to them that you have a Wi-Fi 6 enabled router with dual Ethernet ports, like input, I believe. Ah, no, no, no. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's input ones. Yeah.
One
And
for PoE and one for
exactly. And what else? I'm
yeah.
getting, but let's be clear here. Unless you're an IT admin at your company, you probably don't have
Hmm.
access to that router. Like, let's
Yeah.
get real. And I mean an IT
Because
admin
you
at
don't
like
really need it.
a well established old mutual type company. Okay, if you're working for some typical Msiamwa thing, you don't have access to that yet.
Hmm.
Sorry.
Because some companies do buy these things for their employees, like top employees. But even
Exactly.
then,
But that guy probably
I
doesn't
don't
need a
I don't
smart
think
biz. He
they're
has a
buying.
whole fiber at home.
No, they don't need. They didn't need a Wi-Fi 6 um route access point. That funny access point that goes outside the
No,
receiver.
they don't
You
need
don't need
that.
a Wi-Fi 6 capable one. Yeah.
It's
So
just it's
very
just the router that's within your house, like an indoor one. And Econet did this
yeah.
for obvious reasons. They don't want to lose money by bringing smart biz to people because to them it's losing money. Okay,
So
this
they're
is the
just
thing
grifting
that's
us.
always been there, which is especially in Econet's case, public company, investors, whatever. And they will probably do everything they can or everything within their power to make sure that they do not spend more money than they need to. So even if they're
Yeah, but in this case,
reducing,
they needed to spend more money.
except they don't like that. None of these companies like that. This is like their sister company, Liquid Slices Whole, saying they're reducing
Mm,
prices. And yes, cutting those prices by half. But unless if you directly go to them and ask them to do that,
mm.
they will keep serving you a bill that's double the price. Like that's
That's just criminal. That's just criminal, to be honest.
that's how these companies work.
It's
Our
like
companies in Zimbabwe
TM.
have been doing the bare minimum for so long that they probably don't know how to do anything else, to be honest. So
It's
either way,
like TM telling me that a loaf of bread is going for 50 cents, but if I don't say a special passcode,
yeah, it's a
I'm
dollar.
just gonna buy it for $2.
That's exactly what they did, right? And this is also what Econet is
It's
doing,
criminal.
which is like the
Mm,
smart biz line goes for, I believe, is it $2? But they don't want to sell you two.
mm,
They don't want you to pay basically what, $47, right? 45 for the what is this? For the monthly internet, $2 for the line. So they'll be like,
mm.
hey, you gotta have a router. And you've got to have a router that specifically works best with this line. But I have a phone that's good
I
enough.
think
Yeah,
no,
but your phone
I don't
doesn't
think it.
have Well, my phone has Wi-Fi 7. I was lucky enough to get one of the new iPhones or the new OnePlus phones. Yeah, we
Mm.
don't care. So they will still make you do
Oh,
that. And people are
they were
actually
they were most likely future proofing their system because
that's
I think the lines will still work.
that
They'll still work with the old the Wi-Fi 5 or Wi-Fi, what is it? Yeah, Wi-Fi 5.
again, why is
But
it a
but
requirement, Blessed? Because I think the thing
they
you
want to
are
future proof.
forgetting. No, 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 no.
Mm,
This is the same as when Zoll first released LTE lines or Intel One first released LTE lines. They all tried to sell people
mm.
routers. And then when people didn't like that, that's when they started offering the lines on their own. This is not new. This is not a new practice. This is something
You'd
Zimbabwe.
wish the more, but this is why I'm happy Starlink came in because
Oh, this is
it feels
why
like
a lot
Star
of people are happy.
yeah, because it feels like Starlink is bringing value, and it's also because now we don't have to stand these local companies grifting us or selling us poor customer service. Because now, if they don't treat us well, we'll just move to Starlink,
I think
and
the
that's it.
thing is the best again, as I said, that's the best thing it
Mm,
can bring, right? A sense of competition, a sense of all the
yeah.
other companies being made to step up. And I actually don't get
Mm,
why they still are trying to nickel and dime people. Because if I was Econet, for example, I would
yeah.
offer the biggest thing that Starlink does not have, which are two things. Number one, a proper local
Mm,
presence, right? Econet is actually from
mm.
here. If something goes wrong, we know we can go to an Econet shop and I don't know, shout at someone until it gets fixed or
Until it
something.
gets fixed.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is something that we know and we've always known. So, uh, this is different from, say, Starlink, where you're gonna have to go and talk to some customer service representative online or something. Unless if you can talk to a reseller,
Somebody
it
you don't
might
know.
even be worse because it's like a middleman type
Yeah.
of situation. So if
Mm,
I was Econet, I would offer two things. Number one, of course, introduce a bundle that is much cheaper and people can easily access. Number
yeah.
two, actually try and show people that I can provide good service. Because trust me, if you can start to do that, you can actually do pretty amazing freaking things
And
in
people
terms of
would
how you
rather buy
retain
from
your
local
customers.
companies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People would be willing to do that if you did your job right. But well,
Yeah.
you know these companies. We've already talked about how they're already acting shady. So I don't know, ngawamboro nekashamo,
Yeah.
and they should feel it for a bit before they act
Sharp, you got mass.
prop. Exactly. So look,
Mm,
you and I are gonna take just a very small break because I have to actually restart this Zoom meeting, and then we'll try and finish
okay.
this segment and then jump into the next one.
Okay, no problem.
Cool, cool. All right, let me see here. Okay, so we're back
Mm,
from our little break. And so just to kind of wrap things up though, with the other side of the Starlink thing, we've pretty much talked about, all right, being filled to capacity, companies kind of trying to respond, but some of them doing a better job than others. But what's been crazy
mm,
is how this has all been a huge shift just in our telecoms industry anyway. Because for starters, directly linked to the Starlink thing, companies that
yeah.
you expect to be competitors have just decided, screw this, we're gonna go where the money is and become Starlink resellers. Specifically, Tier
If
1.
you can't beat them.
If you
Mm,
can't beat them, join them, apparently. Tier 1
yeah.
and Dande Mtande or Utande for some of you.
Mm.
Straight up just decided, now we're not doing this. Please somebody give us that reseller form and we're just gonna do that instead.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know. Maybe I don't understand. Maybe they realize that it's good for their business as well.
Well,
I'm just trying to find the positives here.
I think
Maybe
it
it's good for.
depends. I would say with
Mm,
Utande, Danemtande, whatever. Um, it makes
mm,
sense. Their biggest client base has always been enterprise or business clients, not homes. Um,
okay.
and
All
they've
right.
been eyeing a Starlink partnership since December of last year. It was literally one of the last stories we did, and yet it was one of our highest performing stories when we literally just announced that. And Mtande is gonna be applying to be a Starlink reseller. That didn't work out quite well at first, and then some things happened.
Mm,
But in the end, they, I guess, decided, nah, screw it. We're pushing through. We're still doing this. And it makes sense. Again, a lot of their clients, business clients, you can literally just add this as another service that they use, whether for when they go on remote working type, I mean, not remote working, but like working in remote areas and so on. So it kind of
mm.
makes sense for them. It's not the most direct form of logic, but it makes sense for the most part. It makes sense.
It's a way for them to enter the home market.
Oh, they are in the home market. They are in the home market. They're just not as big. And I don't think they're trying to get bigger in the home market as much as they're trying to. I mean, of course, it's also
In
going to allow them to
enterprise.
do that, but I feel like it's also going to make them even double
Mm,
down on just having more services for enterprise customers. However, Till
okay.
One,
Mm.
Till One is yeah, Till One just pulled the I don't know reverse Uno or whatever thing that
It
means
was
pulling a
unexpected.
trick out of your bum and showing it to people. Like nobody saw that coming. Okay, nobody saw that coming.
Yeah.
And it's been crazy,
Yeah.
right? Um, especially because of
And
the
it's scary for the fact that
uh
the, I hope they are going to be reselling Starlink and also improving their services as well. They
that's what I
can't
was about to
be
say.
just reselling. Yeah.
What I was about to say is that it's crazy that Tilso is at this point. I mean, Towan, sorry, is at this point where
Mm,
even if a lot of people make fun of their services, they're still like one of the biggest internet suppliers in the country. They are. Okay. Schools,
yeah.
whole
Yeah.
businesses,
Mm,
large amounts of suburbs literally rely on Tawan. It
mm.
to the
And
point
so
where
on.
most
Yeah.
people would say Zoll is considered the more premium option, but Tawan is kind of like, I don't know, the people
Mm,
option or the cheaper option or the one that everybody's just really into. Not really into, but the one that they can afford.
yeah.
And so to go from being that to like saying, oh yeah, but we're just reselling Starlink now is a huge unexpected move because if anything, people were
Yeah.
probably hoping that, I don't know, we'd get a cheaper LTE bundle from Taiwan or we would get
From
some more.
Taiwan because of it. I
Yeah,
mean, eventually, I guess it's a good way not to panic and I don't know, ride the wave for a while whilst you decide what you're actually gonna do.
I mean, yes, maybe, but also at the
So,
same time, is
mm,
it? Because short-term gain, of course, the short-term gain is money, right? You can never say no to money. But
yeah, well,
I'm thinking
not
in terms
necessarily.
of as a company, like what's your goal?
Mm,
What's your plan? What's your long-term function? How do you plan to actually render different services to people? Um,
considering we knew Starlink was coming since
exactly.
last year.
So
Yeah.
so it's like, what are you guys even doing? Yeah, fine, you might claim you have a plan, but like, what is the plan? Because it's
Nah, if they had a plan, they would have made it
by
public
now,
at the
right?
by now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Mm.
it's a very weird spot to be in. I can imagine being a Toan employee right now. Because that
Mm.
must be hard. Like I don't a lot of people always talk about how
Scary
this
times.
Zimbabwe, bro. You don't have a lot of like
Mm.
employees that believe in their company like that. Fair enough. But like I would
Mm.
find it
Yeah.
weird if my job was just outright selling the competition. This is, I mean, people don't get this. This is the equivalent of like, especially since the Apple intelligence stuff and so on isn't out yet. Google being like, look,
Mm.
we can't roll out AI features as, I mean, not Google, Apple being like, oh, look, we can't roll out AI features as fast as Google and Samsung are doing. So we're just gonna start selling like Pixel phones in Apple
Mm.
stores now. And like, if you want AI stuff, go get a Pixel. If you want the rest,
Mm.
get an iPhone though. Like, that's what someone is doing. Hey, if you want all this big
Or
stuff,
network.
go get what is this? Go get a Starlink kit from us.
Mm.
But if you want the typical stuff,
Like network selling buddy airtime.
exactly. It is so weird. And you really are just trying to understand it, like what's the long-term plan? But yeah, as we said, it's a
Yeah.
tumultuous time because on top of that, then we've got something that's now unrelated to Starlink, but it's happened at a very interesting time either way. You have
Mm.
a quote unquote UK based company called Clear Mobitel, supposedly touting that it wants
Mm.
to put financial investment into the likes of Telecom and Africom, in which I'm not
Yeah.
against that, but I'm definitely still
What
looking.
is
Go,
Africom a
please
Zimbabwean
continue.
company or no,
Uh,
I was
it-
asking if Africom is a Zimbabwean company.
Technically, or at least the Africom that operates here, it's a bit of a slightly more complex shareholder structure.
Or it's like a franchise. Mm.
Yeah. But either way, well, not a franchise, but okay, let's just say Africom Zimbabwe, right?
Mm.
Yeah, that's apparently quote unquote
Yeah.
supposedly ripe for investment, which would be
Okay.
fine if this company then also didn't go on to hint that maybe it might want to just acquire these companies, like bite them up. And then it's like, okay,
Oh.
but also in the document that they talk about buying these companies up, they mention net one
Mm.
as well. And I'm like, okay, now you're coming up. And this is on top of the fact that
Do
Clear
these people?
themselves
Mm.
look shady as heck. Like they write themselves as a big leading telecom company, but there's a lot of evidence that
Leading who?
otherwise, like I
Mm.
so it's been weird. It's been a crazy.
Yeah.
But if it were to happen, if there's a chance that it can happen, it would be interesting to see
Mm.
what this brings because yeah, you're thinking financial investment. That just means, I don't know, we hopefully start getting better everything from the likes of Telesol because Telesol needs it.
Yeah.
Lord knows Telesol needs it. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a weird move.
Are they still Is Telecel still operating?
Yeah,
Because I
with
haven't seen
crazy
a
low
Telecel line in
subscriber
ages.
numbers, they are still operating with
Mm.
the lowest subscriber numbers to have a subscriber number, but they are. Um, Let me
Yeah.
see here. I think there's some stats. I think it's even text in there. I was like, yeah, they have around 300,000 subscribers right now. 300,000 nationwide.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. I hope the internet
For
is fast
context,
for those
I
300
believe
subscribers.
both
Mm.
Econet and Net One are Econet is over 10 million. I think it's like I'm forgetting how much.
Mm.
I mean, not over 10 million. It's over
So,
Econet
mm.
and Net One, both over 10 million. I mean,
Mm.
Econet is what? I'm
I
forgetting.
know. I
But
know Econet is over 80% market share.
exactly. That's what I was.
Mm.
So you have all this going on, and Teleso is barely alive, like barely.
Mm.
Shout out to
Yeah.
the fact that their lines still allow you to use NAT Type 2 though, which is great for gaming. Don't ask me how I know that.
Oh.
But um yeah, they are barely alive. Africom is also actually a bit of a
Mm,
similar situation in terms of like it was a company
mm,
that was ruined by terrible shareholders, and now it's kind of grasping at straws to stay alive. So both are in a bad space. We get that. But the question is if they would be outright
mm.
acquired, what is this company bringing, right? Besides just the money, what kind of attitude is it bringing? What kind of, I don't know,
Yeah.
goals or
We
focus
need we
does
need
it
more
have?
competition.
We do, but we also need to realize to see
Mm.
who the heck is deciding to buy these companies up because trust me, you don't want them to be
Oh
bought
yeah.
by someone who's just gonna spin them and then sell them again for less when they're scrapped for parts. So yeah,
Mm.
it's a whole thing. There's always more to learn, I guess. There's always more to learn. So yeah,
Or
that
maybe they will sort
uh
out data.
or maybe
No, I'm
what?
saying I hope they maybe they just want our data for selling, which I hope is not the case.
I mean, I don't know, maybe, but this company was talking about what? At first it was a $200 million
Mm.
investment. Now they're talking about a billion. $1 billion for data on Zimbabwe?
Billion.
I mean, maybe there's that I
Data
know
fetches
that.
money.
No, of course, but I
Data
cannot
fetches money.
put data in Zimbabwe.
Yeah. Imagine 15 million people. Of
Or in
yeah. I'm
terms of
sure. I'm
space,
sure. They,
it would be what? Maybe 2% of those people. So maybe.
that's what doesn't. So maybe they'll purchase the company and make a push for more subscribers, so that you know
I mean,
maybe they'll come with
I'm not
cheaper data rates.
I'm not saying none of this can happen. I'm just saying it's very
Mm.
far-fetched. But either way, it
Yeah.
definitely marks a very crazy time within our telecoms industry, from the Starlink stuff and everything
Yeah, for
like
sure.
that to
Mm.
everything now that's going on with the likes of Teleso and so on. But yeah, please, if anyone knows more about this situation, feel free to contact us or
And let us know.
just leave your thoughts in the comments. They will be around there. But okay, let's
Yeah.
move on to our next big segment. This is the thing I've been wanting to talk about all day, which is
Yeah.
has AI ruined everything? Like, no, has AI ruined everything? This is a big topic.
Yeah.
And what's funny is it's pretty much like four topics in one because
Mm.
to give a quick preview here, we're gonna talk about the iPhone 16s. We're gonna talk about the Google Pixel 9
Yeah.
phones. We're gonna talk about the Microsoft Copilot Plus PCs or the Windows Copilot Plus PCs because they're not only made by Microsoft.
Mm.
And they even the PS5 Pro. All of these things seem kind of unrelated, but they're all
Mm.
somehow either enhanced or, in my opinion, a lot of the time hampered by AI. So hence why
Mm.
this big question is there. But we're gonna start with the thing that's pretty much kind of the one that most people easily latch onto, which is the iPhone 16 devices. And now, before I give a
Yeah.
verdict or idea, Blessed, I'm gonna ask what you think of these things.
Oh, of the iPhone 16.
Yeah.
I have nothing much to say, except that I'm a bit disappointed. I mean, I do, I am for, I am for improving the quality of life features on my phones, which is because, to be honest, as far as we have got in the smartphone business, there isn't much to add to the phones. So it's understandable if companies want to focus more on the software features and make the experience more enjoyable and comfortable. But shipping a phone with pretty much 60-70% of the features missing
I
is
mean, it
diabolical.
came with the
So
buttons.
I'm
The buttons are not missing.
that's the only other thing that they brought because no, what's the point of buying a new phone if
If most of it is like the old phone.
yeah, most of it is like the old phone, and the new stuff can pretty much be used on on the older phone. The new stuff about the iPhone 16, the actual new stuff, except for the buttons, can be you can find it on
Oh,
an
it
iPhone
can be
15
used
after an
on
update.
no, it can only be used on the 15 Pro if we're talking about a lot of the AI stuff.
The AI
It can
features,
only be used on the
or because
15.
of the NPUs and the AAT.
Yeah, well, this year has definitely been called the AI upgrade cycle, where most of these companies are gonna force you to get the new phone because of AI features. That's been the case.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what Samsung tried to do, but it turns out most of those
Mm.
features can go
Samsung did the
way
same
back
as
to
well.
the S21.
So
Like they literally can go back to
mm,
the S21. Google actually hasn't tried to do that. Google has talked about how certain Gemini features will go into all the like okay, the Pixel 8s are actually a good benchmark if you just want
mm,
a lot of these new Gemini things. Like especially if you get the
yeah.
Pixel 8 Pro, you're fine. Um,
Mm.
and other
Well,
features
the
are
advantage,
yeah, a lot other
yeah.
features are still coming down to like the Pixel 6 Pro that I'm using now. So a lot of that
Mm.
AI stuff is there. Google has
The
been
advantage,
building. Yeah.
just a little sidebar. The
Mm,
advantage of Google is they've been working on AI for what seems like the longest time.
exactly.
So when they made their tensor chips to be able to process AI features and all that. So I guess that's the advantage. But what surprises me is it kind of seems like other companies caught up in a shorter time
Well,
or have
most of those
even
companies are
surpassed
using
Google.
Google services. I think people forget this. This is like Samsung's Galaxy AI stuff. 50% of that stuff was built by Google.
Mm.
Like there are
Yeah,
some
well,
things that Samsung did cook up on their own. Let's not
mm.
try and put that
Oh
down.
well, Samsung is dependent on Google, but I meant as far as AI is concerned, not the smartphone. Like Google has been working on AI for a long time, but then OpenAI, when did they start? Recently, working
Oh, well,
on
okay.
their research, but it seems like they caught up so fast
Okay. Here's what we're
in
gonna do.
probably yeah.
Let's keep
Mm,
it with the phones just for now, and then we'll dive back into
okay,
that part because that's actually a very interesting and much more in-depth topic. But we are going back to this.
okay,
But back to the phone.
right.
Point is, this is the year of the AI
Mm,
upgrade cycle. Okay. Apple is basically telling you you should upgrade to these phones if you want the new AI stuff that's only coming probably around what, late October, November, maybe. I don't know.
mm,
Yeah, late October, November, unless if you're using some betas, but still pretty much late
yeah.
October, November, and then especially next year. That's when a lot of the other stuff is for Apple Intelligence is known to come.
It's,
Either
mm,
way, though, AI stuff included or not included, I would sum up the iPhone 16 phones as buttons in AI. Like if you're interested in buttons, if you're interested in AI, fine. If you're
mm.
not, don't bother. Like, not really.
It's
I,
not even.
yeah, please continue.
It's they they literally copied the on-screen button and pasted it on the side of the phone because it doesn't make the camera dramatically better than the iPhone 15 camera. It's just pretty much the same camera. Oh,
Well,
and you can now take pictures with a button on the side of the camera.
well,
I mean, of the phone.
that's definitely to be fair. Like I will say this: if we're talking about just camera
Mm,
performance,
mm,
outright performance, I
yeah,
feel like a lot of these phones are kind of at a standstill in terms of how good they are. Like they've all kind of chosen a
yeah,
certain kind of lane. Samsung is
mm,
the quote unquote hardware king, or at least it's the quote unquote hardware king if you're a typical phone buyer. Because Xiaomi and Oppo will
yeah,
tell you how their phones kick Samsung's ass pretty much every day of the week. Um,
mm,
Google has kind of leaned a little too heavily on AI now. Like Google doesn't even really care about how
yeah,
well it uses AI to boost the quality of the photo. They care about all the crazy stuff you can do, right? You can put someone else in the
mm,
photo even if they weren't there at first. You can make change the color of the sky. You can what is this? You can
yeah,
erase stuff, you can add stuff. I literally went parasailing in
mm.
Kariba recently. I now have a version of that picture where there's no parachute on top of me and I just look like I'm the Flash running on water. So this is what Google this is what Google cares about. Look, there's literally
Yeah,
a drafted
mm,
article that I we still haven't put out,
mm.
which is called Dear Google, Why You Always Lying? Because you just can't trust a smartphone camera anymore, and it's Google's fault. Like, and it's not just Google doing this anymore, right?
Yeah,
Samsung's Galaxy AI stuff is doing this. I think it's the Motorola Razr
yeah.
also has some of these features. I think even OnePlus was talking about it. Like,
I mean, there's.
yeah,
Mm. No, I say Google is also selling these features as well
yeah, yeah. That's the thing.
to their Android
To other
partners.
vendors, exactly.
Yeah.
So now Google caused this whole thing where you can't even trust any smartphone camera anymore. To the point where, to some extent, actually, this is
Yeah.
a one other thing that Apple
Mm.
focused on if we're talking about the iPhones, which is
Yeah.
the photographic styles have kind of gotten a refocus this year. And all of that stuff about changing tone,
Yeah.
tone mapping, and colors, and all that. And the reason Apple has done that is
Mm.
because of cameras becoming so AI based. Apple's like, hey, we're gonna kind of take out
Mm.
actual like crazy AI stuff, not take it out, but de-emphasize it. And we're gonna give you the freedom to feel like
Mm.
this auteur photographer who can add all these very interesting vignettes and playing with contrast and playing with colors and shadows the way you like, so that you can feel like you're a professional photographer as compared to someone who completely
Yeah.
relies on an AI to take a picture. So, and
Mm.
that's look, I've said this multiple times. As in as much as I don't always like Apple's technological choices and a lot of the changes that they make on that front, I appreciate
Mm.
the changes that they make in terms of branding or in terms of trying to understand which way the audience is swaying in a year or at a certain time and creating tech that
Mm.
seems to address that because that's
Yeah.
literally what they're going for here. Like these photographic style items,
Mm.
some are impressive, a lot are what you could call glorified filters, but they feel more
Yeah.
analog than, oh, Google's got this really cool AI thing that just makes the sky disappear. Like, really? So it's very interesting. And I
Yeah.
would actually
I
argue,
mean, it's
yeah,
also.
no,
Now,
no.
I was gonna say on a fringe note, it's 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 low key good because it keeps the actual photographers relevant. Because now you can tell if a picture was taken. I mean, unless it's an iPhone that doesn't use too much AI in their photos, then a picture is still gonna be a good picture at the end of the day. If it was taken by the right person, maybe with a proper DSLR camera.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, what's funny
So
that's
maybe
like
phones should go crazy. Yeah, but
phones should go
mm,
crazy with what?
now saying maybe phones should just keep going crazy with their pictures and add crazy features, which is fine, and then leave the proper professional photos to the real photographers with the DSLR cameras,
People always say that, but
or
here's the
maybe smartphone
thing.
makers are just getting carried away. Mm,
Yeah, but here's the thing though. Here's the
yeah,
thing. To some extent, I think we're kind of reaching that point where we're going too far as the smartphone photography part is. Because look, for everyone who's getting angry about AI coming in their smartphone photos, you're too late. Okay, we started using AI to enhance our
yeah,
smartphone photos, or at least machine learning to enhance our smartphone photos since 2016. Literally, that's just been out. All these
yeah,
HDR technologies, a lot of these image signal processing pipelines, a lot of those algorithms are basically machine learning or AI trained. So that's been,
mm,
you
yeah,
know, the Google Pixel 2 was arguably the big phone that made that all change. And then everyone kind of copied from Apple to Samsung to
yeah,
everyone else. But the thing
yeah,
is, now we kind of tipped over to the point where we literally, the general consensus is like people feel like, okay, this is too much. Like, okay, I didn't need to have that much AI or to feel like AI is that invasive, especially in this year where AI feels like it's everywhere. So that's why people
yeah.
feel the way they do. And I don't know,
Mm,
that's not a bad thing, but it's ironic because it's gotten to a point where you may know this app called Halide. It's a third party, more pro camera focused app for the iPhone. They're literally calling it, what is it called? Um, oh my gosh, what is it called? Something zero mode, where the app turns off all
zero
the AI based enhancements that it can have so that
features.
the picture can feel far more
The
natural.
so it just uses the sensor. Okay,
Yeah. Um,
okay.
at the same
I feel
time,
like we're gonna get more of those apps.
here's the thing though. This
Mm,
is also what Sony has been doing with its cameras all this time. Like this is what Sony has been doing with its cameras all
mm.
this time. Like it was
Sony
only with the Xperia 1 Mark
with their phone
5.
phone cameras.
Yeah, with the Xperia 1 Mark 5 last year
Mm,
that they actually started introducing some AI assisted camera stuff. Because what was happening now is everybody would see these
mm,
amazing pictures that are taken on a Sony camera. I mean, on a Sony smartphone camera. They get a Sony smartphone, they try to
mm.
take a picture, but they don't know how to use a DSLR. So it looks terrible.
Yeah,
And now you have people walking around being like,
yeah,
oh,
of
Sony
course.
cameras are terrible. But they're not terrible. They're some of the best smartphone
Yeah.
cameras ever, if not the best smartphone cameras ever, depending on who you ask.
Mm,
But they
yeah.
started letting some AI assisted stuff get into their cameras last year just so that normal people could use them. But now what's crazy is we're in this time where people are hating the fact that AI is getting into their cameras. And Sony is
But
nowhere to be
it's been
found.
there for the
Like Sony
mm,
is just quiet about it, and Apple is arguably stealing their thunder. Because I've actually never understood this. Sony could be the Apple of
mm.
what is this of the Android world. And what by that what I mean is this.
I mean
It
because
has a very
mm,
it has a very what is this? It has a very dedicated crowd that loves it. It has sort of an
mm,
that's focused on art and artistry. So that their phones come with apps that help you record music better, that help you take video better, that again act like professional cameras.
mm,
So these phones have
Okay.
kind of been made to be like the ultimate, even like content creator phones. And yet
Yeah.
they never cash in on this. Like they used to be the
They
ultimate
never marketed them.
partially, but even just cashing in on it because
Mm.
these once upon a time were even the ultimate, what is this? The ultimate manual camera phones. Like they acted like a proper DSLR camera. And now that's kind of been taken
Yeah.
away by Xiaomi and what is this? And Oppo with their the what is this? The Mio Ultra phones and the Find X.
Mm.
I think it's we're on the Find X7. Yeah.
The
So
Oppo Find X.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like Sony's getting the camera thunder stolen by those guys. And then the whole focus on
Mm.
manual and very artsy photography being stolen by Apple. And it's like, what are you guys doing? Like everyone is stealing your
Mm.
thing, and you guys are just
They should have just kept it.
you're just there. You're just sitting there. Like, why? And it is it's infuriating. But I guess, yay for the iPhone 16s. They get to what is this? They get to gain some version of
Mm.
performance, I guess. There are some things that I will point out. Number one, if you get the regular ones, I would say those
Mm.
phones are more worth getting. Like if you have an iPhone 13 or older. Someone was like iPhone 14 or older. I think people forget that the 13 and the 14 are the exact same phone down to the processor.
Mm.
Like they're not different phones. They're the same phone. So please. But anyway,
Yeah.
so if you have a 13 or older, you want to upgrade. You have the money to get the newest one, just get the 16.
Mm.
It's probably going to be better off, especially with future proofing. If that is not the case and
Mm.
you want a Pro, if you have the 15 Pro, you're probably fine. Like you're probably fine. You can wait. You can wait like a year. Maybe the 17 Pro will be worth it. I don't know. But yeah,
Yeah. The
16s,
features you miss won't be that. They won't be that big.
you're gonna miss a button. Okay, that's pretty much
Now,
it.
I'm saying if you have a 15, that yeah. And also, did you notice that the 16 Pro and Max, I think they both have 8 gigs of RAM.
They all have 8 gigs of RAM now, including the normal ones. Again, this is the year of the AI-based smartphone upgrade cycle.
Mm.
For Apple, they need 8 gigs of RAM. The next phone we're going to talk about,
Yeah.
Pixel 9s, they decided to just bump everything up to 12 gigs of RAM.
But
Because,
also,
yeah, yeah,
no, because
continue.
Pixels are gonna be running local models, and
Apple
the
Intelligent
iPhones
will
are
have
still going to be using.
some local models. They will have some local model. In fact, a lot of the what is this? The
But it's
Apple
not.
Intelligence stuff will actually have some local models. Then there is stuff that will need to connect to the cloud.
That's the thing. I don't think there is going to be much of local models in that because they also talk about remote processing for most of the AI requests.
Oh, it depends, dude. I
So
think
I
you're
feel like
forgetting.
there
There's
won't be
stuff
much of.
like, well, look, there's stuff like
Mm.
that writing analysis. There's stuff like translating. There's stuff like probably even some Siri stuff that can be run locally. Like with We're Modern. I mean, Apple is literally, if you have,
Yeah.
I think is it the Apple Watch Series 9? You can literally run Siri on device completely offline. Like Siri is not using an LLMs at the moment, at least the one on the
Mm.
watch isn't. But if they can do that, I think they can at least get some simple things to
Yeah.
run on the phone offline. So that stuff will be local, hence the
Okay.
RAM upgrade. But a lot of the other stuff, yeah,
Mm.
that will require connecting to some servers, including some. that use Google's technology, by the way. So that's a really funny thing.
To yeah, seems like you can't really escape from Google, whatever you do.
Yeah, Google and OpenAI kind of have these things on lock, which we will talk about just now. We'll just take a small break
Mm,
and come back. All right, so we're back. So
mm,
what's funny is we're looking at these, you can look at these things as almost two sides of the coin, right? People are very
mm,
disappointed in the iPhone, partially because of their focus on AI. But on the other hand, you
yeah,
have the Pixel 9 series, which are arguably phones that are being loved a lot more because
mm,
partially of their focus on AI. Like a lot of the things that make
mm,
these new Pixel 9 phones great are, yes,
mm,
features that Google made just to make the phones better, but also features that are definitely based on AI. And yet these
yeah,
are far better received, right? Whether it's the Pixel 9, the normal one, the bigger 9 Pro, or what's essentially the Pixel Fold 2. That's really what it should be called. But it's called the Pixel 9 Pro Fold
yeah,
because I guess they try to
proper.
show that it's as new as these other new phones. But yeah,
Yeah,
a lot of the things, so just to go over it, like the iPhones, they got the aforementioned RAM bump. They started at 8 gigs. They're now starting at 12 gigs,
mm,
all of the phones. I believe it's the 9 Pro Fold. The 9 Pro and Pro Fold can go up to 16 gigs. Storage is pretty much the same, starts at
yeah,
28. Prices have actually gone up. Like they've all gone up by pretty much $100, and yet people still don't seem to mind. So yeah, the regular Pixel
mm.
9 starts at 800. The 9 Pro at a
Sounds like AI
thousand.
tags.
The I don't think so though. I would say these phones are actually more
Mm,
premium. Like they've got, look, people have said this. They look like
mm,
iPhone-ified pixels where they have the shape of the 8 Pro from last year, but they now have like the rounded corners
mm,
of the iPhone with metal on them, right? They've got
yeah,
better screens,
mm,
brighter screens. They finally have what is this? Ultrasonic fingerprint sensors. Not the biggest thing for me, but I do get
yeah.
it. Uh
It
Pixel
is. It is a big
sensors were
thing.
not the biggest. I mean, they're not the fastest ones. Now they're just as fast as everybody else, I guess.
Mm,
Um,
yeah. Mm,
and new cameras. Oh yeah, new cameras. The main 50 megapixel one has gotten a bit of a bump, as well as a new 50 megapixel ultra wide, I believe. Yeah. And a what is this? And a 48 megapixel telephoto. So pretty much everything has been given a pretty big bump on the camera side, minus the
yeah.
minus the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, which unfortunately only gets to keep the main sensor, but the other two sensors are like 12 megapixels, I believe. They're technically a little better than the ones that came
Yeah.
with Pixel Fold 1. But yeah, again, these phones have been well received. There's an MKBHD article for both of these phones, like the fold and the non-folding. Pretty much positive reviews.
Mm,
Same goes for things from like The Verge, Engadget, big tech establishments, and so on. All seem to like it.
mm.
Also on the iPhone, it's like, well, there's not much, but and I think it's
It's
interesting.
still the iPhone.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because some people are saying it's probably because when it comes down to it, these phones weren't built in like the past year. So, for example, Apple always planned that the iPhone 16 was gonna pretty much be the way it is probably 2 years, like 2 years before. And that's before a lot of this
Mm,
AI boom stuff started. Whilst Google, I guess,
yeah.
also planned to make a nicer, more premium phone before the AI stuff started. They just happened to both
Yeah.
try and use AI as their explanation for everything going on. And in Google's case, it
Yeah.
worked. In Apple's case, people are throwing tomatoes at them.
Yeah. Well, you can't blame them if the features still haven't shipped up to this point.
But I mean, look, to be fair, again, to be fair,
Mm,
the iPhones did kind of get a camera bump, like a camera spec update, especially with the pros, I believe. The lenses are
but
wide and better, and they did all get a better telephoto sensor now. So, that's not and a better no, they got a better
no.
wide angle sensor. But the normal
Mm,
16 Pro now has the same telephoto sensor as the what is this? As the Pro Max, which wasn't the case last year.
mm.
And I get it, even
But
listening to this,
that's
it
a very
sounds
low bar, to be honest.
it is. It
Is
is
it?
very low bar. But
Yeah.
I mean, like, all I'm saying is it's not like Apple did nothing. It just didn't do enough.
Of course, they gave us a new button that so many other phones are gonna be copying
Hey,
next year
Sony
going
had
forward.
that button before. This is what I keep saying. I don't know why Sony is switching. Sony had camera
Oh yeah, yeah.
since
This
forever.
is like Sony has a marketing problem.
Sony has a marketing problem as well as a what can I call it? Okay, here's the problem with Sony phones. Number one, marketing, as you said.
Mm,
Number two, availability.
yeah.
These things are actually always expensive because they're not available in a lot of regions. And then three, yes, the price.
Oh.
Because
Mm,
I do love the Xperia 1 series. I do.
mm,
But the fact that they always cost
yeah.
$1,400 or $1,500 is insane
Yeah.
when a Galaxy something Ultra starts at 1.2 or 1.3. When an iPhone Pro Max starts, I mean, probably maxes out at around 1.5, 1.6. It's
Mm,
it's a little insane. And then the Xperia 5 series, which is supposed to be the cheaper series, starts at 1,000,
mm,
in which it should be an $800 phone. Like spec wise and so on, it should compete with the base iPhone, the base Galaxy, the base
mm.
Pixel, but it doesn't do that. And because it doesn't do that, Sony keeps
That's
shooting
where the
themselves in
problem
the
is.
foot. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. They again, they should be at the Apple of the Android world. They seemingly decided to be the Apple of
Mm,
the game console world instead because the PS5 has more lock-in than your typical iPhone. So I guess that's
yeah.
working for them, but idiots. But I don't know, any
Because
final thoughts before we move on to the next segment of your AI stuff?
nah, I'm good.
Okay, so I think you were the one who was actually talking about this. The whole
Mm,
Google was working on AI for a while, then OpenAI seemed to like catch up and almost lap them or whatever. And now there's all these other AI
yeah.
companies that are claiming to be able to do a lot of the same stuff. I think
Yeah.
I think you have some merit in terms of OpenAI definitely wants to get products out first. And they caught up in terms of getting products out there in front of people. I don't
Mm,
think they outright beat Google or outright lapped Google when it comes to the actual advancement level of their, what is this,
okay.
of the models or the technology going on. But what OpenAI definitely did was they came up with something really quickly that people would want to think about in ChatGPT,
To use okay.
and
Mm,
they put that out to the market. And Google had kind of gotten complacent, to be honest. They definitely did feel like, hey, we're the AI
mm,
company. We're in charge of this. We're in front of everyone. Nobody's gonna do anything. And well, somebody did something. And especially if this was last year, I
but
would say I wouldn't really know where Google was because they were kind of scrambling last year to just have some things out
mm,
there and to just find relevancy. But I do feel, especially this year now, they're definitely at a point where they're seemingly more composed. They have a strategy. The strategy is Gemini. That's been rolling
mm,
out bit by bit to more people. And it's seemingly been working out. There are some issues I have. I would actually say this. The biggest issue I have with Gemini, this is why I still use Google Assistant on my Pixel, despite the fact that I have
Mm,
access to Gemini and a lot of its crazy cool features. I think because I have a Pixel, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Um,
okay.
Gemini is clearly not complete yet. They're trying to
Yeah,
make
of
Gemini
course.
both the LLM that acts like ChatGPT, but is also very connected and intertwined to your phone's core system and like connected to your Google
Mm,
account and all the stuff that has to do with that and so on. And
yeah.
in trying to do that, in trying to cover both those sides, some areas fall short. So, for example, there are things that I still use Assistant for, like, hey, set a timer for this. Hey, which song is this? And I
Mm.
think the song, no, the timer thing, Gemini can do now. Great, cool.
And the
Song thing
song
is
and the
still
song.
iffy. Like it
Yeah,
doesn't always work. So because of all those things where it's like you can tell Gemini is not quite optimized, I genuinely
mm.
am constantly kind of annoyed by that. But I do like the fact
Yeah,
that they're definitely at least in a place where they know what they're doing, as compared to last year where they didn't seem to.
yeah. I think they didn't anticipate AI to become such a hot topic so soon and so fast
I think they were actually
because
trying to control the pace of that, really.
because they've been talking about researching AI for I don't know how many years. So either they didn't really put much focus on putting out a product that actually benefited from AI, or they were caught unaware. They didn't actually they failed to predict what the market will be like in a few years.
Oh, they were definitely caught unaware. If it's about from a
Mm,
market and products perspective, they were caught unaware.
mm,
However, if we're talking about for they didn't know where to put that research, this is Google. People play around with projects and ideas all the time. I feel like they had ideas on what to do with it. They just didn't
mm,
know that some things would be as big a hit. So, for example, in the case of ChatGPT, I don't think that they thought
mm.
a simple chatbot, well, not simple, but a single chatbot would have that much of
Yeah,
an overarching effect, and it has. So
yeah,
I think that's really what knocked them out and took them for a loop for a bit. That's the thing that they had to deal with, as compared to like, did they not have an idea of what they were doing or talking about?
what they were doing. Yeah,
But yeah, I don't know if
yeah.
you
I guess
any more thoughts on that before we finally go to pretty much the last segment of this thing.
no, no. There was just an afterthought. Because I thought it was just interesting.
No, it is. It's definitely interesting. And now
Yeah.
we live in this whole AI race where companies are trying to distribute models everywhere, trying to distribute bots everywhere, trying to distribute products everywhere.
Mm,
The more you can gain data from that, the more you can then train your models with that data, and then they get better at what they're
yeah.
doing. So it's like a whole distribution race. It's Google, it's OpenAI,
Yeah.
it's Microsoft, which is technically using OpenAI stuff anyway, but yeah, it's now Apple, which is using Google and OpenAI stuff along with a bit of their own stuff.
Mm,
Samsung is using
yeah.
stuff. Facebook is using its own stuff everywhere, and it's kind of
Yeah.
use WhatsApp and Instagram and stuff to spread its meta stuff everywhere. So yeah, it's a whole race, and we will see more and more of how it evolves, and of course how it actually affects everyone's life on a day-to-day
Yeah.
basis. But yeah, the final part of this whole has AI ruined everything is
Mm,
these amazing PCs that have probably revolutionized how Windows PCs are going to run and how reliable they're going to be, especially when it comes to battery life. But you probably don't know
mm.
any of this because Microsoft gave them this stupid AI-based name and AI-based branding that makes it seem like they're made to run a chatbot rather than be
Mm,
MacBook Air killers. which is what they're supposed to be.
Chatbot
Yeah.
PC.
Yeah.
Mm.
So Microsoft's Copilot Plus PCs. That's what they're called. I didn't come up with that name. It's terrible. I know.
Chatbot PCs.
Yeah, that's what they sound like, right? They sound
Yeah.
like they're chatbot PCs, but they're not. In fact,
Mm.
just to break it down
Yeah.
for the audience before you think they are chatbot PCs,
Mm.
Copilot Plus PCs is technically an overarching term, but the main ones that we're focusing on right now are the ones powered by the ARM-based Snapdragon processors. So what are these? Well, technically, you probably have an idea of this. Computers have run on Intel Core i5s, Core i7s, AMD processors for years now, or at least Windows computers. But in the last decade or so, we all realized that ARM processors, which are like the processors that run in our phones, are basically just as powerful now, whilst being much better at power efficiency. So, in other words, maintaining battery life, right? You probably charge your phone, you can probably charge your phone once a day, use it fairly regularly throughout the day, and maybe get home around 6, 7 p.m. with about 20, 30% charge left. You should be able to do that with a laptop, but at least most Windows laptops and old MacBooks could not do that. Apple changed that in 2020 with the M1 MacBook Air and MacBook Pro, and then it's been going on a roll since then with the M2 and the M3 machines. And whilst Windows has been trying to catch up, it has not had some good experiences with that until now.
Mm.
In June, Microsoft unveiled their Copilot Plus PC initiative, and it had machines from Microsoft themselves, the new Surface PCs, but also the likes of Dell, HP, Lenovo, etc. And
Mm.
whilst Microsoft had done some ARM-based PC work before, which was terrible, now them and Qualcomm seemingly nailed it. And now we are at a point where you can say, oh, the M3 MacBook Air, what can go 20 hours throughout the day if you're just, I don't know, running video on it. Well, this Windows machine can go 22, 23, 24 hours off of a single charge as well. So basically, these new processors from Qualcomm, the same company that makes Snapdragon processors in your phones, they're just as good.
Yeah.
And if the question is, can I have a Windows machine that can probably run 90% of the usual stuff that people use and has what is this? And has the same or better battery life than an M series MacBook? The answer is yes. Like the answer is straight up yes. And
Yeah.
at the same time, these machines aren't just meant to do that. They're some of the best Windows machines released this year. They genuinely are. But of course, they're not perfect yet because they are a new architecture and a new technology. And yeah,
Mm.
I think that's what we're
It
really.
also feels like a bad time.
I don't
It
think-
also feels like a bad time
Uh-huh.
for them to be released together with all this AI fanfare.
Well, yes. So you hate the fact that they're being AI associated, basically.
No, I'm saying if there was less of an AI focus, we could more people could see um how beautiful these machines actually are, like what they're actually capable of outside of using Microsoft's glorified chatbot. So
Look, yeah, look, Microsoft and branding, they haven't been doing well for that
yeah,
for a while. Okay, for a while. I mean, let's just start with this. How many things that
mm,
Microsoft makes are called Copilots right now? Can you guess? Can I'll pay money for this. Like if you can guess without a Google search, I'll actually pay money for that.
mm,
Because there's Copilot, which is the thing on your PC, like probably, especially if you're using Windows
Mm,
11, it's probably like on the bottom line. I mean, bottom right corner. Yeah, exactly. Then
yeah.
there's Copilot within Microsoft Word. Then there's Copilot within Bing. Then there's
Mm,
Copilot for like, what is this? GitHub and
with
Azure.
GitHub, yeah.
Then there's
Mm,
Copilot Plus, which is the PC thing now. Then there's Copilot Plus 2.0, which is another thing that they released last week.
what?
Basically, I
And it's a
think
different thing.
look at this point, Microsoft should just be called Copilot Inc. Okay, because that's what they do. Like that's
That's
what.
what, that's, yeah, that's what they're working on all this time.
Yeah, pretty much. But all that aside, these machines have
Mm,
been awesome. Okay. We put up, well, we by the time you hear this, we would have put up an article that pretty much goes
yeah,
through why these machines are awesome. We've kind of already hinted at that. Awesome battery life meets awesome performance. Like these things are fast. Like someone might be like, but I mean Qualcomm's based on like a phone processor, so isn't it slow? Nope, not at all. I
yeah,
straight up say as long as we're talking about certain 14th gen Intel chips and pretty much every 13th gen laptop Intel chips basically get their butts
mm,
kicked by these machines. If we're talking about benchmarks, if we're talking about just outright speed, they do. And on the same note, they still have crazy power efficiency. You are talking about, again, machines that can go up to 24 hours. So you can have a machine that, of course, this is based on the type of work you're doing, just to be clear, but you can definitely have a
mm,
machine that if you're probably connecting to the internet, I don't know, playing Spotify in the background whilst doing some work online, and then you disconnect maybe sometime later on, get home, watch a movie or something, you're definitely at minimum getting around 10, 11, maybe even 13 hours from a work day like that without charging. And that's pretty
yeah,
awesome. This is why people have been flocking to the new MacBooks. Like, this was it. Okay. A lot of people would be like, I'm a developer or I'm some kind of digital nomad or creative. I spend all my time moving around on a machine that I can just turn on, do my stuff, and turn off and not really worry about where the battery is going. The MacBooks could do that.
yeah,
And whilst Intel and AMD were trying to catch up these past few years since 2020, they didn't catch up quite enough. Like AMD came up with a few interesting processors, but never really happened. These machines do that.
yeah.
Like that's just the thing. The unfortunate part, which I'm just gonna jump to right now, is they're still a new architecture. They are. And since ARM and x86, which is what Intel and AMD processors are based on, since those two architectures are not the same, not everything might run perfectly. Yeah, since these machines have launched, it's pretty much been like a whole daily check of like, okay, does this thing now run? Oh, does that thing now run? And for the regular, the majority of like regular programs do run. So if you're looking for Microsoft Office stuff, web browsers
Mm,
like Firefox, Chrome, Edge, obviously, Slack, I mean Zoom, we were talking about Zoom having an ARM version just recently. All of that stuff is fine.
yeah.
And on top of that, these machines can emulate a lot of x86 apps, so even old Windows programs, really, really well. With I believe Microsoft calls the emulator Prism. It's basically in the same ballpark as what Apple was using, which is called Rosetta 2, which is how they would turn old school Intel-based apps into M1 capable,
Into,
yeah, into ARM capable apps.
okay, yeah,
Microsoft's Prism has proven to actually be awesome at that too, because people have been able to run things like Adobe Photoshop off of Prism, and that was working, and the performance was within the same ballpark as straight up Intel machines. But at the same
mm,
time, the thing that happens about computers is sometimes a program is meant to rely on a specific core or a specific API
yeah,
or a specific graphics card that requires the old school architecture to be there. And if what is this? If that thing is not there, the app just won't work. Hence why a lot of apps will need to be recompiled for ARM, unfortunately. It's not that
Yeah.
many. And again, new apps have been supported each day. So for example, when these machines first came out, um, Adobe Premiere Pro did not work at all. Like they pretty much just locked it out. However, now there's a beta version of Premiere Pro for ARM processors. That's actually apparently pretty great. The likes of DaVinci Resolve are
Mm.
already working, so if you're video editing, that should be fine. Um, Games have been the biggest issue, and ironically, not for the
Yeah.
reason you think, because these things are able to run things like Baldur's Gate 3, no problem. The thing that was actually causing issues for games is a lot of games that have anti-cheat software, like Call of Duty nowadays, and even apparently
Mm.
recently GTA 5. Those games, the anti-cheat software might be meant to read for a specific Intel or AMD processor, and if it doesn't detect that, it will think you're cheating and just shut down the game, which is
Wow. Okay.
intense.
Just crazy.
It
Yeah.
is. Because again, these machines can actually run the games. But unfortunately, in some cases, some code updates or some patches will need to be fixed in order for certain games to run. Most of these are thin and
That's
lights.
gonna take a while.
Yeah, it
Mm.
will take a while. I was actually going to say a good example is, I think in the article we wrote about this again, Intel with its Arc GPUs that I think launched in 2022. Only now
Mm.
are Intel Xe or Intel Arc graphics being more widely supported. But when they launched in 2022, they had a lot of problems. Ironically, with older
Yeah.
games as compared to like newer ones. So kind of similar cases here. So yeah, it's a shame, and I would say it's the one Achilles heel to these
But
machines.
it's ex it's expected. It's still too new. People can
Yeah,
companies will figure something out. But I'm sure they are figuring something out as we speak.
I hope they do because there are other things, two things to look out for here. Number one is
Mm.
definitely the fact that, ironically, all these years Intel and AMD had not caught up. They kind of caught up this year. Uh, Intel just released a lot of they're calling it what? Evo 2? Yeah, Intel Core Ultra Series 2, not Evo 2. Sorry, Core Ultra Series 2.
Well, the new, yeah, I did
Yeah,
see that one.
also known as the Lunar Lake chips. Turns
Mm.
out Intel finally fixed it. They figured out how to make a chip that's also very, very, very power efficient. So now these chips can
Yeah.
actually also catch up with the same level of performance that the same level of, sorry, power efficiency that the Snapdragon chips had. Intel's power was never in question. Like, even when people would talk about how fast the M1 or the M2 MacBook Pros would be, yeah, there'd be tons of Intel machines
Mm.
that are faster. However, could they keep battery for as long? No. Turns out now Intel has
No.
probably found a way around that. And if you're looking at machines like, I believe it's called the Lenovo Yoga 7 Aura Edition or the Asus S14, yeah, Pro Art
Mm.
S14, ZenBook S14, sorry. Those things
No, the
are straight up.
S50.
Sorry,
Do you mean the S14 or the S50?
the S14, because the S15 is the Snapdragon one. The S14 is the Intel.
Okay.
So those machines are keeping up battery wise with the Snapdragon machines. Like they might be 1 hour
Mm.
behind on a benchmark. Like let's say the Snapdragon one runs out after 22 hours, the Intel one is running out at like 21 hours. But that's enough
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the one thing that might make people not move to Snapdragon machines is, will all my programs be supported? But they won't have to think about
Mm.
if there's an Intel chip machine that's just 1 hour short. So it's kind of a shame because we're really excited for these machines, but at the same time, you're already seeing that they might have a harder time succeeding because the competition has kind of already started to catch up. Either way, though,
Mm,
the good thing is it means great machines for Windows fans, either way. And you're gonna
yeah,
be able to just have machines that are just as good battery wise as the MacBooks. So you don't really have to
and
worry.
performance as well.
Exactly. Performance has pretty much always been good, but now it's even better. So
Yeah.
that's just a generally good place to be in. As for those who are wondering which ones to get, well, there's a whole list, but personal favorites, Surface Laptop 7 is definitely something I have been thinking of getting. Like I'm literally
Mm.
fighting the urge because also it's $1,000. I don't have that kind of money. But it's honestly probably the best Surface laptop they've made from the design to the new screen to the what is this? There's better ports. There's like what I love about these machines is that everyone, well, not everyone, but a lot of people are going out of their way to make the best machine. I believe
Yeah.
Novo also has the Slim 7 X Pro. That's another awesome machine, like straight up amazing machine. Even the Samsung Galaxy Book 4 Edge, like it has some misses
Mm.
because of throttling issues. Like Samsung clearly overestimated how well they could cool these new processors. But put
Yeah.
that aside, it's an awesome machine. There's others. There's the Surface Pro 11. There's the Dell XPS 13. Most beautiful machine on that list, but also it's too MacBook Air like for my liking in terms of very few ports to use. No, there's two ports.
Yeah.
There isn't even a headphone jack. That is just stupid. I don't care what you say.
Yeah. No
Um,
headphones, Jake, on a laptop.
yeah,
That's
I mean, the Surface Pro
sacrilege.
11 doesn't have a headphone jack either, but at least for Microsoft, you're like,
Mm.
oh, you guys have buds and like headphones, so you kind of understand
Yeah.
like that whole move to like create that ecosystem. But for Dell, it's like, bro,
Mm.
what do you guys have? You don't, I don't know of any Dell buds. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
No, it's
What do you
completely,
expect us to do?
it's completely
Yeah.
stupid. Other machines, let me see. The Asus, I think you're saying the ZenBook S15. That one's cool.
Mm.
It's not as fancy as the others. For example, it doesn't come with a touchscreen, but it's cool. I like this. I love these machines. My only complaint is literally,
Mm.
why is there no two-in-one convertible? Because like I'm like, that's these are the perfect processors for that, right? You have
Mm. Yeah.
processors that are meant like for you to be able to walk around all day, to use your computer with,
Yeah.
to never run out of battery. Having a computer that can just fold back into a tablet would have been perfect. I don't know why they
I'm
didn't,
sure
but yeah.
we'll just have to wait and see if it's on
No,
the
I'm
cards.
sure they will, but then there's also just the problems that definitely the Snapdragon machines are going to be facing right now, which is I think this is
Mm.
the thing about the difference between Apple and Windows, which is, for example, when Apple brought up the new M series Macs, they were like, "Hey, you want a MacBook Air or a 13-inch MacBook Pro? Guess what? You can't buy them anymore with Intel chips. You're gonna buy them with an M1." That was the thing, right? They
Yeah.
completely just changed up their lineup,
Mm.
and that was it.
Yeah.
And
Gave you no
Microsoft
option.
kind of tried to do that. Like that Surface Laptop 7, there isn't an Intel version, right? It's just these new chips.
Mm.
Because for them, they were like, you know
Yeah.
what, we're willing to go all in on that. But you go to
Yeah.
the side of like Lenovo. I just said it. I think the Slim 7 Pro is an awesome machine, but at the same time, there's the Yoga 7 Aura Edition, which is basically an Intel
Mm.
chip machine made to kill the Slim 7 Pro. So it's like you're not even trying to compete with the MacBook, you're trying to compete with the other Lenovo machine. It's like, and it's like, we
So
get why, because they probably have like enterprise customers who'll be like, now we need Intel processors for this exact program.
useless. Yeah.
But it's literally also getting in the way of your other product. You know what I mean?
Mm.
HP
Yeah.
is not gonna kill their whole ProBook line, for example. Okay, wait, no, did they kill? I think they killed ProBook. It's now called EliteBook. They're just all called EliteBook. So fair enough. But they're not going to kill the Intel versions of those machines. They're just
Mm.
essentially going to keep those running, whilst also putting out one or two Snapdragon machines just to see how to test the waters there. And that's the same for a
Yeah.
lot of people. That's the same for Dell. That's the same for even Asus and all that. So, this is what kills it, man. This is what ruins it, and ruins the chances for these machines. But if that's not a problem for you, go get one because they're actually pretty amazing.
Yeah. Get them.
Uh,
They're awesome.
Speaking of which, any picks from you before we kind of round this up?
No. Just go get yourself a an ARM machine. Almost most people, if you're not an avid gamer or a very hard video editor, then get yourself an ARM machine. You benefit from it, especially in Zimbabwe where you know that electricity is gonna be a problem. Just
Exactly.
yeah, it's perfect for that. So get yourself one.
Okay.
You thank yourself for it.
You
Yeah,
you will. And even if you don't want that, the good thing about these machines is they're making AMD and Intel machines finally have much better battery life as well. So it's a good
yeah,
time to be a PC user, I guess. But just to answer
yeah.
this question, Blist, before we close this down, has
Okay.
AI ruined everything?
Um, I think this is one of those yes or no questions. It has, but then it's also like it improved a lot and ruined most. So no, it didn't. It didn't ruin everything.
Okay.
I guess that's the more.
It
Yeah,
didn't
it
ruin
didn't ruin
everything.
everything.
It's ruined some things, just
Yeah,
not everything.
some things, just not everything.
Okay, I think I can agree with that. I will say one thing it ruined.
Yeah.
The PS5 Pro, stupid ass machine. I'm sorry, I don't care what you're saying. $700 for a
Yeah,
game console? $700.
for AI features.
Well, not for AI features, but for AI-based upscaling.
Mm,
The thing about that, I'm going to try and
yeah.
really close this within a minute because we need to get closing.
Mm,
But here's the thing.
okay.
When it was the PS4 Pro, it kind of made sense because when the PS4
Mm,
launched, it could not support 4K. It couldn't. Theoretically, it could, but it couldn't. So the
mm,
PS4 Pro's whole point was, hey, look, we're gonna upscale some games to 4K, and we're gonna make a PlayStation that takes full advantage of your 4K television, right? Technically, the
yeah.
PS5 Pro can support 8K, but who has an 8K TV? So that goes out the window. And instead,
Yeah,
they're saying, like, hey, here's the best thing about the PS5 Pro. Most of these games, you have to choose either a performance mode where there's faster frame rates or fidelity mode where there's better
yeah,
visuals, which is true. You do have to in most games. And the PS5 Pro just lets you have both at the same time, which is not bad. But that kind of just sounds like you messed up when you made the PS5 to begin with. So
yeah.
I'm not paying $700 for that. I don't care. But anyway,
Nah, $700 is just too much.
it's crazy, man. But anyway, we were literally out
Yeah,
of time. So thank you again for everybody who's tuning in. We will
yeah,
try and put out an episode hopefully every month. We'll see about that. But you guys have a great
yeah.
one, and we will definitely see you in the next episode.
Right.
See you guys around. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.